on a natural high. Take to the sky, that makes everything, loving you more.
Mind. How to make a living. Values.
Values.
The good life.
The good life.
The doctors finally told me there's nothing they could do to help Danny until Danny gets himself in trouble with the law, the courts, and then basically they would step in and take care of him. Well, as a parent, you don't want to feel that there's nothing you can do more for your child, but wait until he gets in trouble. Humphreys had been behind him, and they cared about his program. They just didn't tell him that he had to do something. They show him that they care about his life. They want to make something better of him. I think they've made Danny like himself. And I think that's one of the big things. They give him confidence.
1, 2, okay, I see Bob, won't you know? 1, 2.
They marked me down as emotionally disturbed, but that wasn't true. I never wanted to do the work, but when I got out of school, I was emotionally disturbed because the way the teachers went about helping me, I'd get in trouble, and all they would do was just put me on the bus and send me home just to calm down. They used to call it a timeout day. That to me is just like, you know, not even going to school.
I don't know, something just snapped in. Brad and Mr. Humphrey helped me in the school. And it finally just started, the school just started, I just started doing more and more and more, and I finally started realizing it's time to do a little changing here.
The probation department was not being effective. They weren't coming up with any programs that these kids would respond to. The alternative obviously was going to be incarceration and a camp, possibly California Youth Authority. We felt as the police that was about all that could be done with the kids. And if Brad had not come along, that's probably what we would have pushed for. The next time we arrested them for a serious offense.
When I first started working with the kids here, naturally I realized they didn't seem to have much of a sense of the future. In fact, their attention span was short, to say the least. The classes were sometimes only 5 minutes long before we changed to some other activity or entertainment just to keep them. It was naturally one of the goals was to get them some sense of the future and get them working towards that future. But more basic than that, the students that we were dealing with were on paint or sniffing glue or huffing paint. So our first priority was to get them off drugs, particularly the hard drugs. To keep them from the theft, to support that drug habit, to get them away from the gangs and the street theater and casual violence that they do out of boredom, I think, from boredom more than anything else. And then on the more positive side, after we stopped these negative behaviors, we wanted to get them back on track and either get them back into the public schools, get them a job, or to put them in college. Everyone had given up on these children, so I had nothing to lose. The parents didn't even care what I did. And I had support from, at least moral support. The community said, look, just try anything, because these kids are gone. They've given up on themselves, they're antisocial, so try whatever you got to try. And I did. Pretty rigorous physical program here, and there are several things that are important about the physical program. One, it harks back to our nature. It's more in keeping with our nature to be very physical. And once you get some of the physical problems worked out, you can get quicker gains in say, the mental realm or the values realm. And it's also more of an action approach to drugs. If you've got a physical program that's hard enough on them that they can't come to school high or they can't make it through the physical program, it seems to be much more effective than telling them the dangers or the harms of some of these drugs. have a very stringent cardiovascular conditioning program, not only to get their physical processes working, but also to clear up their mind and get better retention in the memory, because that point has been borne out in the research, that if you do have a physically fit person, you'll also have a quicker thinking person. It was hard to get my students in class to sit together and to work together, or to listen to the teacher or anything, because they had such short fuses. They would fight at the drop of a hat. So we put in a very good martial arts program. The theory being that if you will go ahead and make the students tough and teach them how to fight, and then couple that with a strong values program, you can get them to stop fighting.
Working out and learning how to fight has made me feel better about myself and change my attitude towards people, and to how I look at them. You know, I'm not prejudiced like I was before. You know, if they're black, white, whatever. You know, they're there. You know, people just like us.
Once we started with this physical, then we started to back them off into the more traditional academic areas. One of our major focuses is this memory area, because it seems to be a key process in learning. If you can teach the students how to handle information, then they can go back into some of the other schools and handle that history class that they had so much trouble with, or their math class. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go through 1 through 20 in your mind and see if you have those mental images. See if you have them linked to your peg words.
Can you repeat
Number
number 17?
17, you want it reinforced?
No, not 17. 16.
Number 16 is Impala.
All right.
And then when you go through these 20 things, when you know that you know them, stand up. These memory systems are powerful enough to handle some of the more historically recent materials, this very abstract number material. The way this is done is the student can translate all of the abstract material into a visualizable, or can translate things into images. Number 15?
Pencil.
That's it. Mexican was what number?
Was number 2.
Lincoln?
Number 1
Taco.
was number 20.
Okay. That brings out an important point, because once you get a student who sees that he is smart, then you're also affected his confidence and his, which will impact on his values, and the whole thing is much more integrated for him.
Books.
Great. Rudy, give me 15 through 20.
15. Pencil, Impala, car, gangsters, pot, tacos.
Our skills are so far behind, in some cases 6 years behind their reading level. Sure enough, when we started talking to each student, I found that probably 7 or 8 of my students out of 30 have never read a book in their life. Okay.